Gravel. This word has stirred up quite a bit of emotion in the running shoe world in recent weeks. Just like with bikes, there have been voices saying it's a super versatile solution, but also those saying that marketers will sell anything and it's not worth paying attention to. Nevertheless, I decided to dive into the topic. I got to test the new shoes from Salomon, the company that you could say started all this commotion. Is it really worth looking into, or have we all fallen victim to marketing? Here's the Salomon Aero Glide 3 Gravel. Hi, I'm Michał and I'm an amateur runner who's simply in love with running shoes. On this channel you'll find equipment reviews, shoe reviews and various running related topics. If you're interested, hit subscribe and leave a comment. It really helps me reach new people. Thanks. Before I get into the running experience, I should mention that I received Salomon Aero Glide 3 Gravel shoes for testing from Salomon, but no one influenced my opinions and no one saw this material before you. Let's start with what these shoes are designed for. The Salomon Aero Glide 3 Gravel is a shoe that's meant to perform well on both asphalt and light gravel paths. It's not a trail shoe, it was created with runners in mind who frequently switch between paved surfaces and light off-road during their training. According to the manufacturer, the shoe should be perfect for long runs and such terrain. Technical details. The upper is a mesh beautifully named 3D Mesh by Salomon, quite thick but breathes quite well. It also features reflective elements to increase our visibility in low light conditions. The heel counter is quite firm on the outside, lined with a thick layer of plush material inside. Additionally, there's a stability enhancing strap on the outer side. Standard lacing, the laces are flat, which should reduce pressure on the foot. However, in my case, they sometimes twisted and the pressure was greater than it should be. Fortunately, this didn't happen too often. The tongue is thin but fantastically wraps around the foot. It's gusseted, flexible and very pleasant to the touch. One of the shoe's highlights. Inside the shoe we have a standard removable ortholite insole. The space in the shoe is rather standard. There's no excess in either direction. The midsole is a substantial layer of Energy Foam Evo. It's a light, dynamic and cushioning foam known from most new Salomon models. We also have what's called a reverse camber here, a cutout in the sole helping to reduce the shoe's weight without losing cushioning. There's 40 mm of foam under the heel, 32 mm under the midfoot, giving us 8 mm drop. The outsole is generously covered with excellent contact grip rubber, which guarantees grip and durability. The herringbone tread pattern is designed to help keep the foot in place on slightly more challenging terrain like light mud, gravel or sand. The Salomon Aero Glide 3 Gravel in sample size weighs 249 grams in the men's version and 227 in the women's version. My pair in size 45 and 1/3 is slightly over 300 grams. That's a lot, but considering the shoe's purpose of straddling the line between road and trail shoes, it's not too bad. You can feel the weight a bit on longer training runs, but it's not excessive. Sizing is standard. Salomon 45 and 1/3 EU or 11 US fits me perfectly. There are no deviations from other models of this brand. Alright, we've covered the technical details, but how do these shoes run? Well, I must say the Salomon Aero Glide 3 Gravel really surprised me positively. I was reading this gravel designation as a marketing stunt, but it turned out we got really decent universal training shoes, and it's precisely this versatility that is this model's biggest advantage. When running on the asphalt, the softness of the Energy Foam and the incredible comfort of the upper stands out. When we venture off paved paths onto light trails, here the good grip and stability come into play. It's a great combination that, after over 100 kilometers in this model, I must admit does an excellent job. Another plus is the feeling during longer training runs. Whether your long run is 12 km or 22 kilometers, the Aero Glide 3 Gravel simply provides high comfort and helps keep your leg fresh even during a long, easy run. You can feel the softness, although the thick rubber layer on the outsole somewhat dampens these sensations and additionally increases the shoe's weight. However, I must admit that those approximately 300 grams in my size weren't noticeable at all. Faster segments aren't scary for these shoes either, though I'd say we're talking about half marathon pace at most. At higher speeds the weight becomes slightly noticeable. I tested the Aero Glide 3 Gravel on a longer tempo run at half marathon pace and was positively surprised that the shoe carried me quite nicely. Of course, we're not talking about the level of shoes designed for this type of training, but for universal trainers it was simply very decent. During intervals, however, I felt that exceeding certain speeds became problematic and that my muscles had to work a bit harder than usual. I had this impression even during 20-second strides. I usually don't focus on one upper element here, but I must make an exception. The tongue in the Salomon Aero Glide 3 Gravel is phenomenal. For me, it has the right thickness and flexibility, it's gusseted and wonderfully wraps the foot. Zero problems after putting the shoe on, it becomes almost transparent, simply becoming part of the foot. And the last plus is the appearance. Salomon has, I feel, for the first time hit the nail on the head with color variants. The shoe design itself is quite classic, but definitely aesthetic, and additionally the colors make everything come together nicely. The non-uniform structure of the material upper helps with this too. We have a slight pattern here. So what didn't I like about the new Aero Glide 3 Gravel? All the mentioned advantages had to come at a cost, especially the versatility. And here that cost is definitely the increased weight. Around 300 grams is already a lot, though during running you don't particularly feel it. And considering we're talking about shoes at the intersection of road and trail, this weight can be explained. Either way, it's worth being prepared that these aren't the lightest shoes on the market. And the second minus is kinda nitpicking, but it was noticeable for me. The laces are just okay, they are quite flat and feel slightly plastic-like, stiff. They hold the tie well, but sometimes require intervention. Here you need to adjust the pressure, then loosen it. They don't adjust perfectly on their own. In this video, instead of a standard rotation and alternatives breakdown, I'd like to address hot topic: what are the differences between the Salomon Aero Glide 3 and Aero Glide 3 Gravel models? In theory, they are almost twin proposal, mainly differing in the outsole. However, the devil is in the details, and it turns out there are quite a few more differences. First, toe protection. In the Gravel version we have an additional slightly reinforced strip at the front of the shoe which aims to protect our toes from impact with stones, roots and other such hazards you might find on light trails. It's not some super heavy duty protection, but it certainly helps a bit. The Gravel version has also an excellent gusseted tongue. I missed this in the basic version where the tongue sometimes rolled up, and while it maybe didn't interfere overall, it also didn't help. The upper itself is also a bit thicker. This is meant to increase the durability and also better protect the foot from external factors. It's also much more pleasant to touch. And the biggest difference is obviously the tread pattern. Instead of a thin layer of rubber adapted for running on asphalt, we have a thicker layer with a slightly more aggressive tread pattern and better ground grip. This of course comes with increased shoe weight. Price? Interestingly, there are no differences here. Both models cost exactly the same, so 160 euros or $160. What do all these differences result in? Well, both models have slightly different applications, even though they are very similar in many ways. The Gravel version is an universal training shoe, a good option if someone wants to have one shoe for everything, including running off the beaten path. The standard version is solid daily trainers, but typically urban and asphalt oriented, definitely handling faster training better than the Gravel version. So answering the question of which to choose, you have to decide what's important for you. The Salomon Aero Glide 3 Gravel is one of the biggest positive surprises this year. The shoe appeared somewhat out of nowhere, were promoted in a way that some found a bit exaggerated, but ultimately we get really good universal shoes. Shoes that I can recommend without hesitation to any beginner runner looking for one pair of running shoes that will meet practically all their needs. And for runners who have already gained some experience, it's still a decent choice for daily training. Great job, Salomon! If you've made it to the end, thanks so much for watching. Hit subscribe, give it a thumbs up. And definitely write in the comments what do you think about these shoes. Also check out my Instagram and TikTok, all links you will find in the description. See you in the next video.